The Celtics are headed back to the NBA Finals. The Mavs are on the precipice of a sweep on their own. Patrick and I are going to be talking the conference finals. I mean, they came and went so fast, only like 2 days long each series, but let's get into foul trouble.
What happened to this playoffs? It's never happened before. And that's not even hyperbole. We have never seen 2 sweeps in the conference finals, and might be what happens today.
I think that's what would happen if Derek Lively hadn't gotten a brutal, knee to the back of the head. Obviously completely accidental, but
yeah,
I do think without Lively, there is a good chance T-Wolves can take Game 5. So I don't know if we're going to get 2 sweeps, but we'll see.
There is a reason why it's never happened, and that's like the kind of the reason right there. But we're burying the lead right now. Boston Celtics, your very favorite team.
Is this the lead? I think this was a foregone conclusion about a month ago.
I guess. But the Celtics, the whole reason why people are like the way they are about the Celtics is because throughout this Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown run, they haven't always taken care of business. They lost to the Heat last year. No Tyler Hero. They were fully healthy. But you know what? They took out those pesky Pacers in 4 games, even though it could have easily been a sweep on the other side, weirdly. But they just came back in every single game. What stood out to you the most from this Celtics Eastern Conference Finals appearance?
Just the sheer talent. They have just so much talent, and it's kind of crazy because I feel like even in some of the wins, I still feel like a lot of the concerns I had were a little unaddressed. Last night they're down 6 with I want to say 3 minutes left, and the go-to play is Tatum size up ISO 3, but it goes in.
Yeah,
because Jason Tatum is a great player.
No, but the 3 of 11 from 3 kind of felt like part of why they were in the position they were at the end of the game.
I felt like in this Pacers series, a lot of the same concerns I had where it's wow, the shot selection with this for the first 46 minutes is pretty awesome with this team. For the last 2 minutes, it feels like they don't know what to do. And I still kind of felt that, even though they managed to win all 4 games. But, they have such an overwhelming amount of talent. And I think that's what stands out is, Derek White is a really good player. Drew Holiday is a really good player. Jaylen Brown's obviously an excellent player. Jason Tatum's an excellent player. We didn't even get to see them play with Porzingis for this series, who's also an excellent player.
Yeah, I think another thing that separates this Celtics team from the last few iterations is I just feel like the non-Jays part of this just is a little bit more reliable in that I believe you can win a huge game for me. The game, I think it was game 3 performance from Drew Holiday, had me PTSD flashing back to the finals, especially that late game strip that he had of Nembhard. That's the kind of play that maybe Marcus Smart makes, but I'm much more surprised that Marcus Smart would make a play like that than Drew Holiday, just because he's he has so much experience. He's a guy that has done it before in those big spaces.
I feel like this year's Celtics team is much more talented than any other team of the Jason Tatum era, but I still feel this weird angst to them. Mm-hmm. And I haven't shaken that, and it's unfortunate for them because it's I can totally see why if you're the Celtics, it might be the hardest to fully lock in against a Pacers team.
Yeah, without 1 game of Tyrese Haliburton.
Yeah, with 1 game of Haliburton. 2.
Yeah, 1 and a half. Right? It was game 2 that he got hurt.
Yeah. But yeah, I think for the Celtics, you dropped 2 games on the way to the finals. Honestly, even considering the level of competition, I feel like that's pretty solid.
Yeah,
it's just so hard. I feel like with the Celtics, it's I feel like people either want to prematurely crown them or prematurely clown them because of the route they've taken, but they have no power over the route they've taken.
That was a bar.
Yeah,
spitting this morning.
Yeah,
what did you
people want to either prematurely crown them or prematurely clown them because of the route they've taken and how good they've looked during it. But I think the reality is for any of us, it's okay, if we were to power rank the 16 playoff teams, the 3 teams they played in the state they played them in, would probably be 3 of the bottom 5.
Yeah, I don't know if they break double digits in those rankings.
So I don't want to say oh, the Celtics are a fake 1 seed. They won a lot of games. They responded every time they lost. But I also don't want to say they're overwhelming. It'd be like if they had the Timberwolves opponents and also had 3 losses. Then I'd be whoa.
Yeah, that would be.
I'd be okay.
Yeah, I mean they're what are they? They played 14 games. They are 12-2 in these playoffs. And to put that into a little perspective, 19 teams have had a 12-2 run in a playoffs. And most of those teams go on and win the championship. But you look at recent history, the teams that have done that, the Suns did that in 21 when they went to the finals. Obviously, they didn't end up winning the championship. Lakers in 2020 did that. And then it's Warriors in 2017, Cavs in 2017, who didn't end up winning, Cavs in 2015, who had a lot of injuries, then Spurs in 2013, Nets in 2003. It's a mix of these super hyper elite teams that are the best teams of all time, and then teams that are playing in a really weak conference. You think of the Nets during that early 2000s run where they did go to 2 finals, but what was going on in the post MJ East at that time? Not all that much.
And you saw it in those finals. The New Jersey Nets get to the Lakers and they're oh, Shaq and Kobe. Tim Duncan.
Team.
Whoa, we don't have these guys in the East. But I mean, the Celtics, I think, are much better than those Nets teams.
No, absolutely. Yeah. But it's just I do feel we don't have the evidence of which one are they? Are they that all-time great team, which they if they win a championship, I feel it's pretty fair to put them in that grouping of really great in the regular season, really dominant in the playoffs. I mean, this Mavericks team, which they will almost certainly end up playing, is definitely no slouch. They're playing amazing right now. But yeah, I don't know. Did you have any feelings about Jaylen Brown winning Eastern Conference Finals Player of the series? What is the Larry Bird Award?
My biggest gripe is still that the award is not named the LeBron James Award. It makes literally no sense. LeBron James is a way more historical figure in the Eastern Conference Finals than Larry Bird ever was. But no, I don't really have any gripes about it.
Yeah. It was
my only gripe was he was oh, I'm surprised I won. I don't ever win shit. What award are you supposed to be winning, Jaylen Brown? I'm so confused.
What about All NBA? You won that award, and
no, he did not get All NBA this year.
Not this year,
but he has in the
last
past.
Year.
Yeah,
and how about highest paid player in NBA history? That's a pretty nice
I think
award.
I really had more of a gripe with him saying that. It's kind of, but that's the thing. The Celtics team. It's then when Tatum goes to the I don't know why don't we get awarded a good team? What?
Yeah.
Who was supposed to win MVP on your team?
You won the one
seed. Who was supposed to win Rookie of the Year? Who was supposed to win Defensive Player of the Year? Who was supposed to win Clutch Player of the Year? Who was supposed to win all these awards on the? I don't know. The Celtics are such an enigma of a team for how good they are. I'm they've been so hard to grapple with all year too, just because the East this year was so weak after a blip of being kind of good last year. The East was randomly really strong last year, and then it kind of faded back into being pretty bad again this year. It's kind of
and that's I kind of feel, I don't know, I feel a little robbed this year because it was coming into the actual season, it was everything was priming us for the Bucks versus the Celtics,
Sixers versus the Celtics.
The Sixers, in there too.
Triumphant of three teams.
We had 2 huge mega trades right before the season started. The whole Drew Holiday switch up, and then we end up getting Pacers versus Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals, which, I gotta say, I think this might be a good time to switch over to a little Pacers talk to round out their season. I was really, really impressed by the Pacers' resiliency in this series, their ability to really make every single one of these games a real contest. We were joking when we were sitting down, which team, the Timberwolves or the Pacers, are gonna like take the title from the Lakers for closest sweep of all time. But what'd you see from the Pacers in this series?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of impressed with them in last year's Kings, even though those Kings lost in the first round. Just the ability to transfer their high pace of play over to the playoffs, because I feel like we haven't ever really seen that much in NBA history. These high pace teams actually being able to convert that into the postseason. Yeah, I mean, it's an impressive showing for the Pacers. I think it's just one of those weird things, though, where I'm like a little worried this might be like a blip on the radar type season for the Pacers, like kind of like the Hawks, or, you know, I guess last year's the Mavs from 2 years ago. I'm going to even put in that category, even though the Mavs are almost at the finals, because it's like a completely different roster where it's like it feels kind of like, oh, whoa, it happened. But then like next year, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like, how do we react to this?
Yeah.
Andrew Nembhard, I'm like, that dude he's a dude. He's a real guy that can play amazingly in the playoffs. 21 points, shot 47% from three when he's like, you know, of the guys that are surviving in the backcourt of the Pacers, it's like you draw a huge red circle around his name, and he was still able to do that. But most of all of his stat line, 7.8 assists per game in this series and only 1.8 turnovers. Like, really, really awesome stuff, especially having to go against guys like Derek White, guys like Drew Holiday, just about like the most expert level of like difficulty in a series like this for a guard. It is a bummer that we didn't get to see the full Haliburton.
Yeah, and Mathurin too, because you brought that up, how he's been injured, and how I was like, I feel like they need one more kind of ISO guy. I don't know if Mathurin at his current state is going to be really like a difference maker when, you know, you got the Jays guarding you or Derek White guarding you. But no, I mean, I think this has been a really fun series for the Pacers. I think they've shown that, you know, despite being, what seed were they? They were the 5 seed, I want to say. 6 seed. Despite being the 6 seed, I mean, I don't want to compare the playoffs to the in-season tournament, but, you know, similar setting. They beat the Celtics in that setting, and, you know, it was a little ratcheted up. It kind of felt like this was a team where if the other team didn't have a super dominant, you know, center like an AD or an Embiid, like they could really punch above their weight. And I think that's pretty like good for the Pacers going forward. I guess I feel like this is tough because I feel like I've noticed Pacers fans feel like me and you give them no credit. And like, but I mean, the thing
Max,
is,
what is that one Pacers fan?
Oh yeah, one of our listeners, Blake left us a comment. He said, "Please go easy on the Pacers on the pod today."
Thank you for supporting us, Blake. We see all your comments. Good on you being a Pacers fan, man. Congrats on the run.
Yeah, I guess the thing is like, let's say the Pacers won the championship, everybody would be like, asterisk.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to happen if the Celtics win the championship. That's going to happen.
It happens literally whoever wins the championship.
Yeah, I mean, the Mavs won the championship. Well, Kawhi was out for 3 games and he didn't look right. You know, like, so there's no reason to care about getting credit at the end of the day.
It's all about the journey.
It's all about, yeah.
It's all about the journey.
I guess the journey is what leads to the asterisk. But
That's true.
No, but I mean, I think for the Pacers, like, I'm a little bit less optimistic about going forward because I do think some of those injured teams in the East, the Bucks, Sixers, and Knicks, I think I would put ahead of them going into next year.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think if you're the Pacers, and, you know, we've seen the NBA like develop in ways we don't, you know, anticipate. I mean, there's no reason next year, like, the Celtics, maybe something happens with them, or maybe they get taken out. I mean, that's the funny thing about these playoffs, right? Is like, for me, retroactively, I'm kind of like, wow, it is kind of crazy that Philly lost in the first round, because especially now that we've been through the whole East playoffs, it's like that team was way better than a first round exit. But like, they lose to a Knicks team when the Knicks are somewhat healthy, then the Knicks get injured, and then you play them. Yeah, sometimes that's the sequencing of events in these playoffs. So
yeah, that's what it's all about. But I also think if you're a Pacers fan, like, coming into the season, you didn't really know who your guys were. And now it's like, even like a guy like TJ McConnell, who had been on your roster for a couple of years, his like place in your franchise was kind of in question. And it's like, you know, he's got a spot now. The Obi Toppin move worked out super well. He was great in these playoffs. Aaron Nesmith, like, I think completely redefined what he is in the NBA. A guy like Ben Shepherd had really, really great playoff moments. Tyrese Haliburton, I think it's hard to place ourselves back where we were with him at the beginning of the season.
No, I mean, we were so high on Haliburton. Haliburton looked like he was headed right for the top of the All-NBA second team, bottom of the NBA first team at the very beginning, in-season tournament time of this season. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the other thing, too. I feel like there's been a lot of, Haliburton pushback. I mean, I did my whole, if they don't win this game, he's off the roster for Team USA. But, this was his first real playoff run, and, they made it to the conference finals. He had some big games. He had some disappointing, scared of the moment looking things at end of games. But he's a young player, so I think
this is his first playoff experience at all. It's just it's going to be so valuable for him moving forward.
Yeah. And I think if you're a Pacers fan, you just got to know that if your superstar is more of the Jokic ilk, where a lot of their value comes from passing, just ignore NBA social media because all they care about is the bag.
The bag, the points per game.
The bag is everything.
The bag is literally all there is. But yeah, the Pacers definitely have some big decisions to make going into the offseason. Their big midseason move was Pascal Siakam, which, hey, that worked out. Mm-hmm. That was a pretty well-timed thing based on how it all shaked out. But he's eligible for a 5-year, $247 million contract this July. That is pretty rich for my blood, making basically $50 million a year. But hey, there's definitely worse players in the NBA making $50 million a year.
Is there?
Yeah, I can tell you about one in particular.
Ooh.
He resides in the desert.
Bradley Beal.
His name is Bradley Beal. There's a couple other too. But Tyrese Haliburton, of course, made an all-NBA team, so he got a raise. So now he's going to be making, come the 26-27 season, $50 million a year. And then Obi Toppin, who we talked about, who is awesome, he is now a free agent as well. So this Pacers team, although young, is going to start getting pretty expensive here soon. So I think, obviously we'll have a lot of time to talk about it, but maybe we see some consolidation trades. If they feel like they're closer, it's going to be a very tight line to toe.
Yeah, that's tough. They're going to have to try to get Siakam to not take the full max.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch gears. Anything else on Celtics or Pacers or?
Yeah, not really about this series.
The East playoffs, I gotta say, as a whole, sucked.
Flop.
Huge
Major flop. It felt so good. That Knicks-Sixers series started us off so well. And I guess even the Magic Cavs series was pretty good. It went deep.
Yeah, I never know how to feel about playoff series like Magic Cavs, where a lot of blowouts in that.
Yeah,
a lot of blowouts in that series. But I never know how to feel about a series where I'm especially when there is a lot of times, because I feel like every year now it feels like we have one really awesome first round series, and everyone's like, "This is the best first round series ever," and I'm like, didn't we have the best first round series last year?
Yeah,
Kings Warriors last year was really.
Yeah,
I don't know. If you put Kings really Warriors into this year, I think that's still probably the best.
Ooh, I don't know. That
one went 7.
That did go 7. That Knicks Sixers series was so
Knicks
fun.
Sixers was really. I guess it depends what flavor of basketball you like. If you like more freedom of movement, or if you like more rock fight. But
I hear you. Yeah. Now that I think about it, I probably would put that Kings Warriors series. That it had the Draymond stomp.
The Draymond stomp.
Iconic moment.
I felt like it was a huge series for, Fox, too. I feel like he hit so many threes. I feel like that was a series that was by the way, Aaron Fox can shoot now.
Yeah.
and he's super
finger.
clutch. Yeah. He won Clutch Player of the Year, and he kept it up in the playoffs. Yeah. So that was really cool.
And then, of course, that Steph 50 ball.
Yeah, Steph 50 ball
was pretty great.
The West, yeah. So last time we talked was Thursday, which means
I think the only thing we had seen was game one.
Yeah, and now the series is Ogre.
Yeah.
Naz
Reid had a quote where he said, "If anyone can win 4 straight games in this scenario, I think it's us." And I'm like, what are you basing that off of, Naz Reid?
You know what? I'm not going to clown Naz Reid. They swept the Suns. They've done 4 straight.
True.
In fact, they started with 6 straight.
That is true.
That would be the most historic collapse in playoff history.
I really do.
No cap.
I really do think the Lively injury is really, really big. I think it's not getting talked about enough. Like the moment he left the game, KAT just attacked over and over and over and over, and it wasn't the most effective.
No,
but he was still doing it, and I like that for the Timberwolves. The other thing too, which I didn't really get, was the whole like. I mean, I get it, but the whole broadcast is freaking out. This was what's so funny about the broadcast. Gafford is in. And all series, we've been seeing Gafford getting these spoon-fed lobs, and Gafford's been playing pretty well. The moment Lively gets injured, they're like, see, now they're going to trap because Gafford's not a good short roll passer. I'm like, weren't they already trying to do that when Lively was out of the game? It's not like now that Lively's injured, you can attack Gafford in different ways. You could always do that while Gafford's on the court. But
from the start of the game, yesterday, 2 days ago, they were blitzing like literally every single possession. And then they were just attributing that to Derek Lively being gone.
Which was so funny because it's like, all right, I get it. Like Lively's better in the short roll, but it's not like the Mavs haven't been good with Gafford too. I mean, also just these one-handed lobs that Gafford one-handed put back over Gobert. I was thinking about that, like that and the Gobert one at the end of Game 6 or Game 7 in the Nuggets series. Just the audacity to throw one-handed lob finishes are really difficult. Like both of these teams are just like, you know what? Here we go.
You could say a lot about this Mavs playoff run, but I will say pretty confidently that it is the best like lob playoff run of all
NBA
time.
Yeah.
Like I can't what is even in the discussion? But I don't even know if we've said it yet. The Mavericks are up 3-0.
I will give a shout out to this player, even though I still think Luka's a better passer than him, even though that causes fights. The year that Trae Young and the Hawks went to the finals, I feel like he just was like, you know what? I'm going to stop missing floaters. And now you never know if I'm doing a floater or a lob to Capella. Like that was a pretty great lob run too. But
that was a good lob run. But there was only one guy that was like making that lob run.
Luka
There's
and
two
Kyrie
lobbers.
I mean, Kyrie has been so unbelievable in this series. The shot making is just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I mean,
which is crazy because it's like his worst free throw shooting series ever. But the shot making on the field goals is just, I mean, he's an ethical bucket getter.
Yeah, I mean, for the two of them to be averaging basically 60 points a game in this series, and to be shooting as efficiently, almost 50% between the two of them. Kyrie is shooting 52% from the field, which is just insane for a tiny guard. Like, I mean, Kyrie's not that small, but he's not a big, guard in the classical sense. They have been just about pitch perfect, and this series has been so close that, I mean, obviously that's going to be the difference, but like, they have been all the difference. And I mean, you look at the Timberwolves stars, and maybe this is where we give it to our Minnesota correspondent, Max. What's going on with the guys? What's going on with the two dudes over in Minnesota, Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns?
I've been thinking about this a lot, obviously.
Yeah.
I had a lot of time to think about. So Ant doesn't look like himself. I don't know if that's just like the paint is too congested with big boys for him in this series.
There's a lot of big boys.
I don't know if it's.
I really do think that's a big part of it.
I think it has to be.
Even on that poster dunk of Gafford, if you look back at the photos of it, because everyone's like, this looks like a painting, Gobert is like low key also getting dunked on because he's also in the paint, just sitting there doing nothing.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if he's like secretly a little bit injured or something. That's like, I mean, he's definitely gassed. It really does feel like we burned everything we had winning the Nuggets series, and then like forgot that we had to win like 2 more series after that. Like it just, I just don't know if they have any gas left in the tank. I don't know.
I don't think he's injured. I know I might have floated that on Thursday. He just still looks super explosive. He looks really fast. He still looks like by far the fastest guy in the court at all times. So I don't know if he's, unless it's like a hand or if he's injured, it has to be upper body injury. It cannot be lower body. But I think also it might just be that Ant's kind of coming back down to earth because he was playing way above his sails, even for his improved regular season form for the first 8 games of the playoffs.
I almost want to say it's like a lights too bright kind of situation, but it doesn't seem like Ant is somebody who would be bothered by the lights being too bright. So
I think if it was that, it would be more something of he's too amped
I
for
don't know,
the games.
In that third quarter when he dunked and then he had 2 sweet mid-ranges in a row, I'm wondering if it's just shooting luck to a degree. Shooting luck combined with the Mavs perimeter defenders have been really, really, really good. And I think one thing too is I feel with the Mavs, especially on defense, we love to dumb down defense to well, they've got, good rim protectors and good guys, but Luka and Kyrie are the weak points where it's kind of feel like Kyrie's kind of a good isolation defender, actually. I don't know. I've seen him lock dudes up in isolation. I feel with Kyrie, it's usually the off the ball stuff. And I feel with Luka too, it's he's just big and he's actually playing, I feel pretty good defense. So I don't know. I don't think
that's also not something that Ant is really good at of mismatch hunting that throughout the entire playoffs. That's not something we've really seen.
Yeah, I feel you guys don't run a lot of okay, we're going to try to set you up. But that's the thing with the Mavericks is I guess Kyrie is the guy you want to attack because he's the smallest, but it's Kyrie's really quick. And Ant, even though he's strong, doesn't really play that kind of bully ball style quite yet. He is more of a finesse player at the moment until he bulks up a little bit more. So it's it's not really the greatest one-on-one matchup for him.
No, and I think the other thing that I'm seeing now is that Ant is just still not quite there. There are just a lot of plays in this last game where he just was not ready. He was not closing out properly. He just wasn't paying attention in some of the and Kyrie and Luka are the kind of players that are so skilled that they're going to notice exactly when you're not paying attention and they're going to take advantage of it. And I just feel Ant, I think everybody thought oh, maybe this is the next Kobe Bryant. Ant is about to, at 22, there's a chance he could do this. And I just don't think that
I'm glad you point that out because even if he was, which I still think Ant's pretty much as close as you're going to see to someone of that Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan mold. Yeah. But one of the biggest differences between Kobe Bryant at 22 and Anthony Edwards at 22 is one of them has Karl Anthony Towns and one of them has prime Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah.
Which
that's the other thing we got to talk about.
I mean, KAT has been terrible in this series. And just you say you're the best shooting big man of all time. Well, dude, right now you are shooting 13% from 3 in the Western Conference Finals on 7 attempts a game. Yeah. And even Naz Reid's astronomical shooting that he has had all season cannot make up for what this Timberwolves team is missing from that Karl Anthony Towns production.
100%.
Yeah, I will say I want to touch on Ant real quick because I feel like Pacers fans are going to go crazy because I feel Ant had all the smoke blown up his way, whereas but now it's all right, guys, he's 22. It's really his first playoff run. This is really impressive stuff, even if he's faltering down the stretch. Game 3, I liked how aggressive he was. It's kind of weird with him. I feel he has I don't know if it's luck because, it seems to work a lot, but Kobe had this thing too where it's it feels if he can just get in the paint, even if he misses a layup, it feels because he's so explosive and so many people have to give attention to his speed, it does open up offensive rebounding. I mean, it feels even when he misses in the paint or makes a bad play in the paint, it's still good things tend to happen for the Timberwolves.
Yeah, I mean, not in this series as much.
Not as much because I think the Mavs defense is quite stronger than Denver's we're seeing. But
the rebounding's crazy.
I think for both Haliburton and Ant, it's these guys are young. It's their first real playoffs. If anything, this is a good thing for the future. And if they do the same thing next year where they falter late in the playoffs, it's your second playoff run. That tends to happen. I don't know.
This is why this doesn't happen. This is why when the Timberwolves got through, we were saying okay, we've only really seen LeBron go to the finals at this age and Magic go to the finals at this age or younger. I mean,
I just think we all need to accept that none of these dudes are LeBron James.
Yeah.
I don't think the only player in the league right now who I think could hit a LeBron James level is Victor Wembanyama. And Luka to me and Jokic are some of the greatest players ever. Like LeBron James is either the best or second best player of all time. So I think we just need to stop thinking people can be the next LeBron, because I don't think there is going to be one.
And the other guys have, a guy like Kareem in his prime, or like Shaq in his prime next to them. And it's just like, that's not what this Timberwolves team is.
Yeah.
But it has been so close that
it has been so close. It just feels like it's close, but then it's not close at the end of games.
Well, Kyrie and Luka just have that gear that they can just go into.
The shot
we
make,
just don't have.
The isolation or the pick and roll. I think the one thing is also, man, Gobert is getting cooked.
Yeah.
He is getting cooked.
he is one of two players with a positive plus minus on the Timberwolves.
That may be true, but I don't know, man. I think it is hard when you're out there as a player and you've got the defensive player of the year and Luka's like, oh, Jaden Hardy, I don't really want the ball back because you have Rudy Gobert on you. Can you just attack him and then score on him? I don't, if I'm Jaden McDaniels, I'm like, bro, come on.
Yeah. I mean, that meme that's now everywhere of Jaden seeing that Luka is matched up with Gobert in that last shot of game 2.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about one of the best plays of Luka Doncic's career.
Just saucing up Gobert, hitting the 3.
Yeah, I don't know why you don't scram switch out of that, or just force a double and let somebody else decide the game. But we all knew exactly what was going to happen when you got Rudy Gobert, just setting him up for failure.
Him yelling oh, you motherfucker, you can't guard me after hitting that shot is okay, yeah, you can say that to Gobert. Whatever he said to Ant after game 3, I don't know what it was, but I have a feeling that it was really bad. And now I just don't like Luka anymore. I think I have to be anti-Luka.
No, I fucking love Luka. Luka's the fucking man, bro. He's so fun to watch. But
he's so good.
I think that with Gobert,
it makes me sick. He's so good.
I think what's tough with him though is he's not making the offense lose confidence when he's on the court.
Yeah.
And I think even if he is, such a prestigious defender and all the numbers are there, I do think that is a real factor when you're playing basketball is if you're not deriding confidence from the offensive player, that is a big value add for a defensive player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, speaking of confidence, I also feel like KAT playing so poorly takes away a lot of Ant's confidence. Like you were talking about earlier about how Kobe had Shaq. When you have KAT shooting that poorly, how can Ant just put his blinders on and pretend that's not gonna fuck them up no matter what?
Well, I mean, not to dumb it down, but KAT being a super elite shooter is kind of what makes this whole offense work,
right,
for the Timberwolves.
Right.
And we've talked ad nauseum about how there's no driving room for this Timberwolves team, and that is what the Mavericks chose. The Mavericks chose hey, we're going to let KAT do his thing, shoot from 3, and it has worked. Yeah. Boy, has it worked.
I think also, though, to give Edwards some criticism, man, I think the passing vision is one thing, but the passing accuracy. I mean, some of these passes, though,
the cross court where the guys have to jump up to catch the ball.
I think there was a couple where Naz Reid is having to high point catch it, and he's still got enough space to get a 3 off. But it's hard to shoot a 3 off a high point catch compared to a good chest pass, and that's what
Naz Reid's 7 feet tall.
Yeah, no, I know. Some of these Ant passes are just errant. They're just wildly inaccurate.
I mean, at the end of game 2, he just threw the ball out of bounds and lost their last possession. So
I'm watching the guard version of Joel Embiid. These passes are 20 feet over guys' heads.
Yeah,
that's the difference between a guy like Ant and a guy like Devin Booker. Is Ant's got the defense for sure, but it does make a huge difference being able to get the ball in the pocket of your corner shooters. Yeah, I looked up guys in the conference finals who average at least 18 attempts a game with a field goal percentage less than 27%, which is what KAT's shooting. Mm-hmm. Only 2 guys showed up. Indiana, Ron Artest from 2004, and surprisingly 2001 Allen Iverson, who at the start of his series was shooting 23% against the Bucks. And they ended up winning that
they won
series.
Surprised we didn't get a James Harden in there.
I know. Hey, it's a high bar that KAT has set, that 28% from the field.
I just like looking ahead to the future. I just don't really understand what's going to happen here with the Wolves, I guess.
I kind of feel like both Gobert and KAT might be gone within like 3 years.
I did see a Bill Simmons tweet that was like, KAT's looking like a future wizard out there, which I'm like,
he is looking like a future wizard.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to...
But maybe you'll be a lot happier when he's gone.
I think I will be.
I mean, I guess
I don't know.
I feel like this is the thing with like basketball that I kind of hate. It's part of my worst take. I feel like winning affects our perception of like who people are and aren't and how we view them compared to other players. But,
Rings culture, baby.
Has KAT actually matured, or is he on a better team?
I don't know. It's hard to say.
Because we are, 3 months removed from the worst 60-point game in NBA history?
Oh.
I think
that happened.
I think it's more that his role has changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not the number one guy anymore.
Right, and he never was.
And some nights he's like the number 3 guy in this team.
Yeah.
Yeah, when Naz Reid is shooting like tattoo Naz Reid.
It's just tough because it's like I feel like KAT has gotten more hate than he deserves, in my opinion. And then he does shit like this, and I'm like, oh, dude, like you were so close to like changing your narrative and like getting out of the weeds, and now you're right back in it.
I mean, he was awesome in the Nuggets series.
Crazy.
He was so effective. And I mean, I guess for the Timberwolves, it's like,
is Karl Anthony Towns thicker Michael Porter Jr.? Because it feels like with both guys, if they're not hitting threes, they're not doing anything.
that is not bad.
I mean, KAT does have more of a post game than MPJ. Don't you think?
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it.
Maybe not in this series, but
yeah, I mean, that's a huge thing, though. Like, KAT cannot pick on these mismatches. Like, that's kind of the whole Timberwolves problem is they're just kind of playing straight up. So, like, all of the mismatches they create, I just feel like they don't have the ability to take advantage of them. And there's just, like, not enough connective passing on this team.
Yeah,
that's
I
why
think that's
they
huge.
have to have Kyle Anderson on the floor.
And Conley. But
Like,
that's
without them, the ball just doesn't move.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like it's like that's one thing I've really hated about KAT this year. It's like they'll blitz Edwards on the pick and roll, so Edwards will get the ball out, and then KAT is just like always that half second slow on the swing pass. Like always, so many guys in this Timberwolves team are just a little slow on the swing pass. And I think, I guess the last thing on Edwards is like it's like Edwards is weird because I like that when they blitz him, he knows like I should get the ball out quick. So it's like it's one of those things where I feel like we criticize Edwards for not being aggressive enough, but in a world where his teammates are actually just making timely swings and it actually looks proper, like when the Mavs get blitzed and Luka does it, everyone in the Mavs knows like let's swing the ball. It's like we don't criticize Luka for not being aggressive; we praise him for making the right play. So I wonder for KAT or for Ant, like. You come into next year and like maybe one teammate is different. There's more swing passing, and all of a sudden that lack of aggression, we view it less as like not being aggressive and more as like making the right play. Okay. Because I don't know, do you guys feel? I don't know. That's how I kind of feel about it. But like I feel like we're so results oriented and not process oriented when we look at games. Retroactive. Because I feel like it's like it's like you take what the defense gives you as praise, but then if you lose, it's you didn't force the issue. Mm-hmm. It's kind of where I feel about Ant in this series.
If you guys had to replace KAT with anybody, who would you do?
So let's see. I think the nice thing, I think it's got to be another guard because you can slot in Naz Reid.
Right.
Yeah, probably.
And then stagger Reid and Gobert.
I guess it's tough because it's like who can play next to a Rudy Gobert like KAT? Like you're probably gonna have to change your entire identity as a team.
Well, Naz Reid can play next to him.
He can.
Yeah, he can.
All
season he's been good next to him. I don't want to.
He has been. Honestly, that's been the best two big lineup for them. But I just there's something about Naz Reid coming off the bench that like I love, and I wonder if you like get a little bit more conventional with how you play. Maybe it's like you're a little less like schemable.
Yeah, I wonder also too if this is a series that's maybe making us like think a little bit too low on the Timberwolves because like Conley is really important for this team with the connective passing, the release valve, great shooter. He can shoot coming off the pick and roll if they drop on him, which has been good for the Timberwolves offense. But like in this matchup, he gets targeted relentlessly by Kyrie and Luka, and it's like, if it's the Nuggets, I don't know if you're gonna. With the Nuggets series, we didn't see a ton of like, we're going to go switch Aaron Gordon onto him or, or Jamal Murray onto him. They don't really mismatch hunt like that. So I wonder if it's one of those things too, where it's like, just because the Mavs play this heavy ISO and targeted pick and roll style, it highlights some of the weaknesses with a guy like Conley. But Conley's old. They're going to have to replace him anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I guess like a guy like KD would like not be a terrible like swap out. You still have the elite shooting. You still have you have the elite size, but you don't have the elite like bulk that you were leading with. But it's tough. It's like ideally you want a big wing that is switchable and can shoot really, really well.
So interesting offseason for the T-Wolves.
Yeah.
Yeah. The kind of silver lining of going out in such a unceremonious way is you kind of like get carte blanche to do whatever you want. If this was like a hard-fought 7-game series where you lose on like a Luka buzzer beater in game 7, it's like, we've got to run it back. We were so close. But now it's like you can kind of do whatever you want, which is nice. We'll see. Maybe the T-Wolves make history.
Yeah. It's tough too because it's not just the KAT question. I think it's the Gobert question too.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, as much as we all love talking about Gobert getting cooked by guards, Gobert just gives you nothing on offense.
I think Gobert's the guy that needs to go.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way.
Because like you need centers that can stretch the floor. I know your defense is going to take a hit if you get rid of Rudy Gobert.
But they were still the number 1 defense when he wasn't playing.
Yes. And you recouped Rudy Gobert's value. Cash in on that.
Yeah.
Because how long is it going to stay? Where you can actually maybe recoup some assets for a team that is pretty asset, like they don't have any. They don't have any picks really. And maybe you could get 1 or 2 and $40 million worth of other players.
Yeah, a guy who I think could be kind of interesting for you, and this is a massive overall downgrade, obviously, because of the defense, but and obviously I don't think New Orleans would want to do this, but I think he's a free agent, is like, if you guys somehow could get Valanciunas, I think he'd be a nice switch-up piece for the Timberwolves.
What if you call up, I don't know if Portland would be like super down to do this, but what if you do something that's like Malcolm Brogdon and Robert Williams, and you just like get way deeper, maybe even some like Jeremy Grant thing in there.
Yeah, honestly, Patrick, you might hate this, but maybe Ant's the guy who can get DeAndre Ayton to give a fuck.
Yeah, maybe.
I feel like if anyone could do it.
Cool. The KAT and DeAndre Ayton front court. But there's a little bit more offense there. I see what you're saying. He's a little bit more mobile, can switch out onto guards.
And it seems like with him, motivation is just the perpetual issue. And I don't know. It feels like Ant is a real riser of all these guys.
That's true. That's true.
DA is a vibes guy. If the vibes are, he is not going to set the tone. So if the vibes are really good and everybody is vibing, because no one's yelling at him, he'll be good.
Yeah, you know what? I feel like we're laughing at this KAT DA pairing, but gamers,
that's true.
I feel like the vibes are way better with that than like Devin Booker, who's like showing up to work and he's like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
Like,
Devin Booker and Chris Paul.
Yeah, Chris Paul, notorious lover of all bigs.
Yeah.
Did you see that referee said in his 42 years of reffing the game, Chris Paul was the biggest asshole?
I did see that. Yeah. Is that your best take of the week?
No, it's not. Should we segue to best take?
Yeah. I don't really have
What is
anything
your
else
best
to
take?
say. My best take, I had a tough one finding a best take of the week. I feel like I'll give it to that. I don't know. I don't really have one.
Okay, my best takes can go to Tim Legler. Tim Legler, he's been kind of on fire as an analyst this whole playoffs.
He's in his bag this year.
He's been in his bag. He called out pretty much how this Mavs Timberwolves series was going to go on multiple podcast appearances throughout the last week. Pretty much just said Mavericks were going to win. This is why I think the Mavericks are going to win. Luka's going to be able to do X, Y, and Z. And Luka has done X, Y, and Z. So that is... yeah, I'm going to give it to Tim Legler.
Actually, I do have a best take. And this is kind of off-brand for me.
Ooh.
But I think it was Stan Van Gundy on the Mavs Timberwolves broadcast. I think it was game 1. He said that Luka Doncic and Kyrie were the best scoring backcourt of all time. And like, I'm really having a hard time thinking of anyone that is
just for scoring
better than that. Yeah.
Just scoring. Okay, let me think.
It's like, I don't know. You got the Rolls Royce backcourt in like Clyde and Earl Pearl in like the early 70s New York. Like that one was really good, but we really don't see like backcourts.
That you're just talking about scoring.
Like this.
Just talking about scoring.
Even like I don't know. You would have to put
because Clay doesn't have the ice. I was thinking about Steph and Clay, but I feel like as an overall backcourt, I like Steph and Clay better. But as just like a scoring,
yeah, I think Book and CP they're
Book
in there
CP
too.
Was really strong, but no, I like this one better because Luka is just the top guy here.
Yeah, he can just do it. Both of them can really do it all from a scoring perspective. So I'll give it to Stan Van Gundy. I think that was
astute observation.
It's an astute observation, and it's a take. It's definitely a take. Mm-hmm. You got a worst take?
My worst take. This is a vague one, so I don't know if it'll win, but it's going to the general basketball media landscape.
Okay.
Oh boy.
I'm really tired of ranking players constantly. I'm tired of every single basketball game being like, okay, we're going to re-rank NBA players. And I think, I don't know how this team's fans feel about it, but with the Celtics, it's getting insufferable. It's like, if they lose, Jason Tatum is 12th. If they win, Jason Tatum is now the 5th best player. If the Timberwolves kept winning, Ant is all of a sudden better than Shea. Now that you guys have lost 3 straight, Ant is...
There's a time
20th.
and a place.
I just kind of hate how I feel like every playoff game is this denomination of how we need to re-rank every NBA player. And if you go on NBA Twitter, you'll see the same stupid image of the best player on the 4 remaining teams. Rank these guys 1 to 4. Look, we all know Luka's the best player. Why are we here I am ranking people. But you know what I mean? It's I kind of hate that it's I just hate how much of NBA discussion is always about ranking players. Mm-hmm. And I think if the Celtics win, it's going to almost be even more, or the Mavs. If the Mavs win, the Luka Jokic debates, I think could be kind of fun. But if the Celtics win, I just feel like we're going to get the why is it Jason Tatum the best player in the world? And it's the Celtics winning is a team accomplishment. The Celtics will have been the best team in the NBA. But I just hate how every 2 seconds we have to rank players. It's really insufferable. At this
I
point.
feel like it's a huge byproduct of the regular season being too long. Mm-hmm. You know, I definitely hear you on that. It's
we need a shorthand to talk about the NBA in a way.
Yeah, I just feel like
I guess
the game by game is too much. I'm someone that I fucking get off on ranking players, arranging them historically under different contexts, but to do it game by game, I totally agree with you. It's way too much.
I'm just kind of sick of the I think it's really been more with Ant and Tatum, where it's I feel like every 2 days we're having some massive discussion about who's better between Ant and Tatum in particular. But I already know in the finals we're probably going to get the Celtics win game 1. See, Tatum's been better than Luka the whole time, and then Mavs win game 2. It was what were you guys?
I feel like anyone making that, I picked the Celtics to win. I'm going to pick the Celtics to win the finals. But I think anyone trying to argue Jason Tatum being a better player than Luka Doncic is doing it disingenuously.
Yeah, I don't know. And this, I don't want to come off as anti-Tatum throughout this whole ranking thing. I just think for whatever reason with him in particular, it's I feel like Tatum supporters are really super overtly pro Tatum and like the Tatum to trap. Like I love poking fun at the Celtics, but Jason Tatum's awesome. I think he has his flaws. Like I think he's a really underrated defensive player, but like I don't know. I feel like we're about to have, regardless of the outcome of the, like I guess the other thing too, if the Celtics lose, I feel like we're gonna get the like, oh, Jason Tatum lost with this team. He's 23rd. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
I know what you mean. I did see a comment the other day that was like, after the Wolves lost the third game in a row, just like somebody commented, the fall of Anthony Edwards in 3 games needs to be studied.
Dude.
Yeah.
It made me want to throw my phone into the ocean.
I forgot which. Dude, I remember there was like a tweet once that went viral. It was like, Jimmy Butler's 0-2 in the finals. We're not talking about this enough. I'm like, bro.
He got to the fucking
got
finals.
to the fucking
twice.
finals as a guy that almost nobody ever puts in their top 10. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
I guess my thing is I kind of hate how reactive people are to the outcomes of games, especially when it comes down to like so many of these games comes down to like, did somebody hit an open 3 in the second quarter or not that you forgot about because the game was a 1-point game? Like I kind of hate that aspect. So to me, it's like, there's almost nothing. Jason Tatum would have to literally shut Luka down and score 30 a game for me to ever consider putting him ahead of Luka. So I think it's just like, and here I am ranking players after complaining about it. But I think that my main point is like, we need to stop reacting to like 1 or 2 games at a time. When
we need to
players.
collectively find a day where we, like on June 30th, it's the day where we're allowed to rank all the players. And then after that, like we got to wait to have more information. I mean, honestly, and like, I was obsessed with the Knicks throughout this playoffs. Like the Jalen Brunson, like ranking of like, oh, this guy is top 5. He's carrying the Knicks through the playoffs. I'm like, what are we talking about? Like,
oh yeah.
But okay, my worst take of the week is it's kind of a ranking players thing. It's going to Brandon Jennings because Brandon Jennings went on the Gilbert Arenas podcast and said, I think Malik Monk is better than Donovan Mitchell. And he's gone. He's out of here, folks.
I mean, is that worst of the year?
It's so bad. And he was like trying to make some statement about how oh, if Malik Monk had the minutes Donovan Mitchell had, he would be like, imagine the points he would be averaging. Like, imagine his stats.
After my rant on ranking players, I'm going to say this. I don't know. All season long, all I've ever heard was Derek White's the most underrated player in the NBA. So if Derek White, if that's the only word people will use to describe him, is underrated, then he's properly rated. Donovan Mitchell is fucking underrated, bro.
Oh, yeah.
This dude is incredible.
He was unbelievable in the playoffs. And then freaking 5 days ago, you're going to feed me this Malik Monk is better than Donovan Mitchell bullshit. It's insane. Yeah, I couldn't believe it when I found it. I knew it was a winner.
I love how we have the 2 worst takes, which is we need to stop obsessing over player rankings and a direct player ranking.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm curious if Lou Will did his top 75 current players where Donovan Mitchell and Malik Monk falls in. Does that mean Malik Monk's like 17, 16, 12? Is he 2?
I think he's top 10.
He's top 10.
I think he's top 10. Just imagine if he averaged 48 minutes a game, how many points he would have. It's like you don't think if Malik Monk was better than Donovan Mitchell, the Kings would start him? You don't think Mike Brown can make that call?
Well, it'd be a small backcourt,
Yeah, that's true. It'd be way too small. Like, you really think Mike Brown's like, we've got Donovan Mitchell on the bench,
but we need to keep him there.
We've got to keep Kevin Huerter in the starting lineup or the team falls apart. Like, what does Kevin Huerter have on you, Mike Brown?
I don't understand the relationship between players who play this I get it. Players who play like the dribble heavy ISO shooting always are the worst analysis every time without fail.
Yeah, but you know who's awesome at the dribble heavy ISO shooting hero ball? Donovan fucking Mitchell. Like, what?
So what you're saying is that when he's retired and going on podcasts, he's going to have really bad takes.
Yeah. He's going to be like,
Stop
Bryce James.
You're a Donovan Mitchell hater.
Yeah, hey, that's a guy. I wonder if he could pry Donovan Mitchell out of Cleveland for if you're the Timberwolves. That would be helpful.
I feel like I might be like low key the secret biggest Donovan Mitchell fan. I feel like he's
Donovan
one of the
Mitchell's
most
awesome.
unfairly criticized players in the NBA.
It is the Utah Cleveland. It's the Utah Cleveland effect. You know, like you even see it with Rudy. Just being out of Utah, people like Rudy more. I think if his career was flipped and he had his first initial run in Minnesota, he wouldn't be the pariah he is today.
Yeah. I mean, dude, when he was a rookie, he beat fucking like Westbrook a year removed from MVP with Paul George on the team.
Yeah.
And then
great.
people be like, oh, Donovan Mitchell, playoffs. Like, what are we talking about here? Unrelated for a video, Donovan Mitchell averaged like 35 points a game in the 2020 playoffs.
Yeah, that's
That's
crazy. Like, imagine how much better the Nuggets would be if they
they
had
kept
Donovan
him.
Mitchell
Yeah.
instead.
Oh my God. Yeah, that
if they kept him.
Timberwolves series would have been way different.
But
if they
like
had
Donovan Mitchell instead of Jamal Murray, like spoiler alert, if you don't know, Donovan Mitchell is way better than Jamal Murray.
All right, let's end the rankings. Let's end the show. Peace.